never-ending rotation of Turks and Jerks hosts will continue for week 4 in a row. NFL action from Sunday. You know, everyone was complaining about the ratings earlier in the season, Francis, and everyone was saying the ratings are down, and as much as we want to believe, or I should say I would want to believe that the ratings are down because other sports products are better and the concussions and all that stuff, here's the facts of the matter. Good football games cause ratings to increase, and that's what you got a lot of on Sunday. I bet the ratings, when they look back on this past Sunday, were probably one of the highest, of course, with Thanksgiving Day games. The NFL season doesn't start till after Thanksgiving, a saying that I've heard before because the playoff chase starts to happen. A couple of matchups that really weren't extremely interesting on paper turned out to be extremely interesting and had tremendous impact. So for our Turks, we'll start with the best of the NFL. Do you have one, or you just kind of chilling? You do?
No, I have one.
All right.
I mean, I watched most of the games. I'm not going to sit here and say I watched all of them. One of the exciting games was the Patriots versus the Jets. I enjoyed it simply because I enjoy watching Tom Brady. But why Tom Brady is my Turk today is because he had like a C- performance, I would say, but still was able to help them emerge victorious in a game that they looked towards the end that they could have easily lost. So he led them on a game-winning drive at the very end, showcasing why he is, if not the best, and he's now equal Peyton Manning in terms of the most games won.
I think he's better.
So, but
that's right. He's not like the winningest quarterback or tied for the winningest quarterback.
And if I was to put any sort of money on him passing it next week, I would put it all because they play the Rams. So let's be honest.
Tom Brady in the last 2 minutes of a football game, man. It's been this way for the last decade.
Yeah.
It's been this way for the last 15 years, as long as I can remember watching football. If you give Tom Brady the ball with 2 minutes remaining, 3 minutes remaining, he's going to find a way to score. Even though that the play, that the 2-point conversion where he didn't cross the plane, he could have. I understand he's going full charge for the pylon, everything like that. You got to get that. Make sure you get that ball over the pylon. It didn't end up mattering in the end, but it could have been a big difference because the last time Fitzpatrick led a game-winning fourth quarter overtime drive, it happened to be last December against the New England Patriots.
And it took a lot for him for me to give him this as a Turk because I wanted to just completely defy the rules of Turks and Jerks by focusing on the NFL.
Boring. Because
college football was phenomenal, and Adoree Jackson deserves to be any Turk on any list when you put the term football in front, because he should have. If this guy isn't considered for a Heisman Trophy, then I don't know what you have to do to be considered for it, and at least to make the short list. The guy was phenomenal. He hurdled a guy to get back.
I love your terminology, the short list.
The short list, is that the same thing?
For Heisman. Well, there is. It's just like we don't call it the short list.
What do you guys call it?
Roster? I leave for 2 weeks, and all of a sudden, it just gets super Scottish.
You can put the guy. You can take a guy from football and put him into football, but you're never going to take the football out of the guy talking football.
That's fair. I understand that. What John Harbaugh did this weekend was, of course, Turk-worthy, and a lot of people were saying on the Twitterverse, on Instagram, on social media, on Facebook, that it's ironic that John Harbaugh found a way to use the rule book to his advantage in this situation because he complains so much about the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. I actually think it's an apples to oranges case, but still, you'll see a picture of the Ravens punter, and we'll throw some others in post of he's just hanging in the back of the end zone. So basically what happened, with 11 seconds left in the game, the Ravens are up 19-12 against the Cincinnati Bengals, and as many people know, a game cannot end on a defensive penalty. However, it can end on any upwards amount of 4,000 offensive penalties. So what John Harbaugh, just like he did in the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers, instructed his team to do, instead of giving the Bengals any chance at getting the ball back, either by punt return, kicking it out of bounds, giving them a Hail Mary option on the other side of the field. When they got the ball back, Harbaugh instructed his offensive line to literally bear hug anybody trying to get near the Ravens punter. So what he did was he just walks towards the back of the end zone, taking an eye on the clock, making sure there's at least 5 yards of distance before anybody can even get close to him. And once that clock hit 0, he stepped out of the back of the end zone. 19-14 is the final score. Important because the spread was 4.5, and I had the Ravens. So it didn't affect.
Yeah.
I would have lost my mind if it was 19-13 and he stepped out of the back of the end zone. But of course, you can't also get tackled in the end zone. That would have been a touchdown for the Bengals. So risky in a way, but the game can end on an offensive penalty. And a lot of people, like I said before, were complaining about this because Harbaugh did in the AFC Championship game back in January. What you're seeing here is the Patriots' full understanding of the rule book, Francis. So back to the Patriots and Bill Belichick. And what you're learning here is that John Harbaugh learned from other players, other coaches in the league. Shane Vereen is circled and eligible, but he's listed as an ineligible receiver. It's a formation where you use 4 offensive linemen, and they made the guy who's playing technically left tackle an eligible tight end in this situation, so they got confused. The Ravens defense had no idea what to do because they're looking at a formation that would seem like, how could Humamani Manimuni, I can never pronounce his name, tight end for the New England Patriots, he ended up running the seam route straight up while Shane Vereen just stood there, and it confused the hell out of him. And John Harbaugh, after in the press conference, was complaining about it and going deep into, you should understand, like that's cheating and it's formations. And Tom Brady had this to say about him. He said, you should study the rule book.
Yeah.
So that's what
it looks like he did.
So Harbaugh already did this before he understood the rules in terms of the game. Cannot end on a defensive penalty, however, it can end on an offensive penalty. He tried to do it perfectly, execute it perfectly in the Super Bowl. He did leave about 4 seconds on the clock, and they ended up winning anyway against the San Francisco 49ers. But in this case, it was executed perfectly, and John Harbaugh wins Turk of the Week for this.
Is it an award for Turk of the Week? Like, what does he get?
You get props. It's John Harbaugh being John Harbaugh. The Ravens are 6-5, ahead of the Steelers in the AFC North. They're the North, right? Yeah, ahead of the Steelers in the AFC North. And going down the stretch, the Ravens will always be a dangerous team because of good coaching, because of guys like Terrell Suggs in the defensive end, because of guys like Joe Flacco's innate ability to be elite only in AFC divisional playoff games, AFC championship games, and the Super Bowl.
Do you know who looked good? The Kansas City Chiefs.
They did. That was a wild game, though.
But they just look good general.
Their defense looks good. Justin Houston healthy is an enormous difference maker
for
that team, and he's had, I think, like 3 straight games with a sack. And it was the first game that opposing defenses had a linebacker, star linebacker in Houston, and Von Miller had 3 sacks each in that game. So what a wild finish, though.
When you look at them, like they got just blown out in the opening week against the Steelers, and then since then they've played some tough opponents, as we know, the Raiders, the Panthers.
Lost 2 games in the season.
Lost 2. They've lost 2. They could be a good dark horse pick.
They lost to the Bucs, but then they beat the Panthers before that. The Jaguars, the Colts,
the Raiders. They looked very comfortable against the Raiders.
They have one of the wins against the Oakland Raiders. Where's Edwin when we need him? All right, that's it for Turks. Comment below, like, favorite, subscribe to the channel. Who is your Turk of the Week? Khalil Mack's on there because he's another Turk, but I didn't get to talk about him. So we'll see you next time.